Hello, back with the V's. This is PS1 Collection again. Not done one of these in feels like a while actually. Um, a couple of reasons. This is the V's obviously because I've skipped one. Or skipped. What was the last one? T's. So that's U's. I skipped the U's because I don't have any U's, and I was bidding on a U on eBay but missed out. And I was also had a couple of more. I had a bid on Vib Ribbon as well for the V's. Missed out on that as well. So I didn't want to do this video until I was certain that I wasn't going to get them. So, and also actually I'd worked it out somehow in like totally unintentionally. The way I've done these videos is that one of the ones I've got the O's is already obsolete because I bought Overblood 2 since I made that video. But the way I've done it means it's not too difficult. I can just make a short video and slot that in and just get rid of the old one. So then if I keep doing that until, when I buy new games, eventually I'll have a whole sort of complete set rather than having to redo the whole lot. So I didn't really think of that before when I started doing this, but I thought, I can do that. But anyway, yeah, this is the V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 games. So hopefully it shouldn't take too long if I don't keep waffling on. Yeah, so I missed out on those. I missed out on Vib Ribbon and I think it was I can't remember something else. But anyway, yeah, some good games in the V's. Tails off a bit towards the end, but other than that, they're not bad. First one, I won't lie, not played a whole lot of this. It's an RPG, obviously, and it's one of the ones that never actually put any time into. Not through any, not because I didn't want to, but it was just other things. I got to other things first. It's a game that I've always intended to. I realise it's got a bit of a rattle. Why's it got a rattle? It was a game that I always intended to have a crack at because it's especially really good, and it's had a few hours here and there. But it's Vagrant Story, a SquareSoft game. It's an RPG. Like I said, it's an RPG. Very, very distinct. Not like any other. There's no other RPG I can really compare it to. More well-known RPG. No, it's quite adult, quite sophisticated. I think the storyline is very, really well written. The game plays out. There's like sort of normal RPGs, so there's sort of cutscenes, and then there's what sort of game is it? It's not quite an action RPG. There's sort of cutscenes, and then there's sort of exploration, and then you go into into exploration. Then sort of battle mode is essentially the same part of the game. It's just you equip your weapon and you go into sort of like a battle stance, and then there's a little icon at the top says battle mode because when you're about to be attacked. This is already a shocking explanation of what the game is. It's not quite an action RPG because the battles are sort of turn based. They're not really turn based, are they? You have to. Right, let me start again. Right. There's a sophisticated storyline that escapes me. It's all about there's sort of faction hunting for a certain object or a certain person. I can't remember what it is. And they're all evil, obviously. That's how that starts out. And your main character is, what's his name? Ashley, that's it, Ashley Wright. Ashley Wright. I never knew that, actually. He witnesses it, and he sort of you start the game as sort of a fully fleshed out sort of warrior, fully skilled warrior, but then it obviously. Shall I just start again? Right. I'm not going to edit that out. Did it show that I've not really put too many hours into this game? Right, start again. You start as this character here. It's called Ashley Wright, and he witnesses there's an evil faction have sort of infiltrated this castle and they're killing everyone, and he witnesses it, and he sort of fights some of the evildoers, and that sort of plays out as sort of a cutscene right at the beginning, and there are sort of cutscenes to explain what's sort of going on, and then they intercut with actual sort of the game engine. The game engine is basically it's all in the third person. It's not quite an action RPG because there are sort of the actual action is sort of slightly turn based, and you get to choose what you do. You press circle. You get to press circle, and this big orb appears like a sphere, it's like a sort of wireframe sphere, and it's basically like your targeting zone. And as soon as your enemies enter that targeting zone, your reach. Right. Yeah. As soon as they into your reach, then you can attack them, and there's like a menu box, so you can attack their sort of body parts, so like head, legs, arms, right arm, left arm, sort of body, torso, all that, and that's basically how the combat plays out. And you select an option from the menu, and you hit that particular part, and then it gives you like a little number for how many hit points that you've taken off, stuff like that, and so it's all sort of done in real time, and until you get to sort of the menu, sort of like the selection where you select what you're going to attack. See, I'm making a right pig's ear of this. I've got to be quick because I've got a spud in the oven. Yeah, and basically you keep wailing away until they're dead. As soon as you've finished a move, I don't really know, actually. I suppose there is to do with, most RPGs, speed is quite key, so that you can initiate more moves than your enemies, before your enemies. But in this one, it doesn't seem to be the case. But I've not really, like I said, looked into it. I've not really read the manual, which is pretty key, because there's a lot that's in this. When I first put it in, I thought, what the hell's going on? And I died twice trying to work out how to initiate combat. I was just getting battered by the first two enemies, and then I realised that it's quite telling, actually. There's an in-game manual, so if you pause the game, bring up the menu screen, one of them says manual at the bottom. There's an in-game manual which probably says quite a lot, because it's quite menu heavy, a lot of dialogue. It's sort of, there's a sort of comic book style which I really like. There's no actual spoken dialogue, but the cutscenes are played out as this quite pixelated. It's not the game engine. It's just basically sort of cutscenes. Yeah. Quite pixelated, but quite nicely drawn. And the characters converse through these dialogue boxes, these sort of comic book style sort of dialogue boxes with like little sort of speech bubbles, and I like that, actually. And it's got quite a comic book feel to it. The artwork and the character designs really, really remind me of Final Fantasy XII, and I love Final Fantasy XII. I know it's not the favourite of many, or not the favourite of everyone, but the character designs are very similar. I wouldn't be surprised if they're by the same bloke. Like I said, it's quite pixelated, but really chunky. There aren't many smooth edges in it, but the characters are nicely designed. Some nice, moody sort of not sound effects, visual effects and things like It's also quite. It's not straight up. There's certain sort of not quite platforming to it because it's all quite automated. You press like the action button and it'll sort of jump up and it'll climb up and grab onto a ledge and pull yourself up. And it's quite automatic. It's not really like a Lara Croft type sort of platforming, but there's puzzle elements as well. There's like block moving. You have to sort of take crates to climb up, stuff like that. But I've made a fucking horrible job of explaining this, haven't I? But I might as well shut up now. I've probably about 3 hours of this, which is pretty shocking. But like I said, it's quite difficult to explain because it's really sophisticated. As I said right at the beginning, Jesus, nearly 10 minutes for this game. As I said right at the beginning, quite sophisticated, quite sort of arcane sort of language, archaic, not arcane, sort of archaic language. Quite like it's meant to be quite sort of dated and sort of medieval style, language. It's quite nice actually. I quite like it. It's well written, but the storyline's quite mysterious, and it's quite adult. It's quite moody. It's got an adult. It's like an action RPG. It's probably not for sort of RPG novices because it's quite intimidating and impenetrable because there's lots of dialogue, lots of options, lots of ways to customise your character, and I think it's maybe why I've sort of put it aside. It's probably not been played ahead of other games, but yeah. But it is what I've played, which is those 2 or 3 hours. I did really enjoy it. It's just got slightly intimidated by the whole, the whole experience. Now these two I've played a lot of. So these Band of Hearts and Band of Hearts 2, straight up tactical RPG. This is my second copy. The first copy, I thought it might be like Suikoden because I'd had Suikoden before this, but just because of the sort of the design of the front cover, it's nothing like that at all. When I bought this, I was hoping it would be the PlayStation's answer to Shining Force. Shining Force is one of my favourite ever games, but it's got the tactical RPG element, but it doesn't have the exploration, which is slightly disappointing because it's got the tactical RPG elements, but it doesn't have the exploration, and all of the story sort of plays out as sort of dialogue and character portraits, and sort of and the rest of the game that isn't part of the actual battle engines. It's all menus, and this is pretty much the same. The art styles are the same. Cutscenes play out using sort of the battle engine, but it's it's a really nicely made, quite straight up tactical RPG. I think one of the main selling points is sort of the blood. I remember when the reviews, and it was quite evident there was lots of blood in it. All the enemy characters, when they die, they sort of there's blood splurts go like that. But it's quite dark. I think the atmosphere is quite dark. The art style is it's interesting, but not the most pretty. It's slightly ugly, but you can promote your characters, which I always like, and I think you can do exactly the same in this. They are pretty much the same game, bar one major sort of design choice, in that this is basically sort of turn-based. This isn't strictly turn-based because the difference between this is, this is sort of like you get your characters move and you move them around this sort of polygon-based, battlefield with different levels and stuff, and obstacles. This one, you can do all the sort of the promotion and stuff, and the rest of the game plays out in almost exactly the same way, but. It took me a bit of getting used to actually when I first played it. When you choose to move a character, the enemy moves at exactly the same time. So which is quite a basic thing, but it makes a massive difference because it forces you to anticipate what the enemy is going to do, and you can draw them into certain moves. Like you can I found myself leaving, because you can look at the enemy's range. There's all these sort of different ways. Like, you can look at the overall range of their attacks, because like the magic attacks, projectile attacks, and sort of like their soldiers, like their melee sort of attacks and things like that. You can look at the overall range. You can see when at the beginning of a fight who's in range and who isn't. So you can judge how the enemy is going to move by who's in range, and the enemy will always prioritise attacking your the main character. There's always a main character in these, and so you can anticipate how the enemy will move. And so if you move that main character first, move them out of range, then that enemy will waste usually a magic attack, because the magic has the biggest range. Does that make sense? So you're always moving at the same time. And it's the same with the melee attacks, which makes it interesting, because if you can anticipate how an enemy is going to move, you can move out of range, and then you can attack them as they're almost like a feint. It's a really basic, quite a basic innovation, but it makes a lot of difference. It's difficult to know which one I prefer, because this one, battles take a lot longer, primarily for that reason, because you're trying to anticipate what the enemy's going to do. But I don't know. I think this one, it has the same sort of character progression where you can promote them and stuff like that. But I think the enemy, your characters tend to look sort of slightly generic afterwards. You know, they all look the same, just with different heads, stuff like that. But you know, they'll help you if you can get the best armor. You can give them the best armor, and you know, they change their in-game characters. The in-game portraits will change with the sort of the armor that you give them, stuff like that. So they all tend to look the same, bar with the heads and stuff. But yeah, and they, like I said, you can sort of change their how you want them to progress. They can become sort of melee fighters, or you know, they can use sort of specialists in projectiles, you know, like archers and things like that. But they're two really, really good, really solid tactical RPGs. Basically, probably the best on the PS1, because us in the PAL regions, the PAL PS1, because we didn't get what did we get? We didn't get Final Fantasy Tactics. Viewpoints. I know a lot of people bitch about this game, and before I played it, I thought, it can't be that bad. It's not bad. It's not a bad game. I think the actual games, they might be slightly tarted up for the PlayStation. I don't really know. But I understand the criticisms, having played it, because it's a bit of a shoddy version. It's a bit half-assed. It's an isometric shooter, which is always find difficult, like this and Xevious. It's not the ideal perspective for a shooter, that sort of isometric, because you have difficulty judging where the bullets are. You know, if it's horizontal, it's basically along one plane, or vertical. This one, it's difficult to judge where the bullets are, where you are in relation to the bullets. You know, your hitbox, so to speak. But the actual game's pretty good. No, it is really good. I don't think the game differs that much from other versions. I think people always talk about the Neo Geo version being the sort of like the ultimate version, but the actual game, I don't think, differs that much. It's really stylish and really creative, and the enemies are creative. But I think it looks like there's been a few textures added. I don't know if anybody knows, going to tell me. But it's just the overall presentation shoddy. Like, as soon as a level starts, for instance, the music doesn't kick in for a couple of seconds. It's my spud. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm going to have to be quicker than I was now, because otherwise my spud will be burnt to a cinder. It'll be an ex-spud. Yeah. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? It's basically the presentation. The music doesn't... Yeah, that was it. The music sort of takes about a couple of seconds to kick in. I think it's just really shoddy. It's a really shoddy sort of... I don't know, operation. It's a good game. You cannot ignore all that. I mean, the rest of the presentation is really sort of bog standard. But if you can ignore that and actually get to the actual game, I think it's really good. Tough, but good. I just like the enemy designs. It's really surreal. All they're like sort of slinkies, just odd like that, and the way you have to manipulate there's like certain gates that you have to fire to move and stuff like that. But yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I understand why this isn't, people that say this isn't the best version. I get that now. Yeah. One of these I've not played, Vigilante 8. This one I ain't played because I've not had this long and not had a chance to try it. Vigilante 8, Second Offence. But this one, it's really good. It's basically a car combat game, like Twisted Metal, Carmageddon, Euro Trip. I think there's one called Euro Trip on the PS1. I can't remember. But yeah, it's right up there. It's a proper solid game. I like this one because one of the characters in it is like, he looks like Eddie Gordo from Tekken 3. Yeah. What other reasons do I need to enjoy it? It's a car combat game, a good one. And I think there are other versions. There was another version on the Dreamcast and on the. Or was that the second game? Was that this one? I think there's one on the Dreamcast. I can't remember. It's definitely one of these on the Dreamcast and the N64. I can't remember, but no, they're good. Well, this one is, at least. I can't really tell you about that. But I don't think they vary that much. They differ that much. But I mean, this one you have like a big lorry or a bus or like a big camper van. Cool. But there you go, Vigilante 8 and Vigilante 8 Second Offence, and finally, after all that, Versus. Bit of an ugly polygonal one-on-one fighter, not much cop really. Bit of a crack in the case actually. Oh, that's a scratch or a crack. It's a scratch. Yeah, it's a bit of an ugly one-on-one fighter really. It's like a wannabe Rival Schools, but it's more like rival Turf. Rival Turf? No, it's a different game. Don't confuse this as Rival Turf, like I have. It's basically, I don't know, they're all like sort of breakdancing crews and stuff like that. Just general urban youths. I don't think you can see the. There you go. They've all got like baseball caps backwards and stuff like that, you know. And that was it. There's one who's a pimp. I think that got a bit of criticism because he was sort of like a straight up pimp, and he's sort of decked out with like a sort of zebra skin trousers and a big wide brim hat and a big, you know. But no, it's a one-on-one fighter. It's just ugly. I don't really like the character models, and it's just not that. It's not that much to like about it. I mean, it's a one-on-one fighter, and you know, if you like them, you might like this. But don't know. I bought it not really knowing its reputation. I thought I took a bit of a wild punt on it. I couldn't really remember how good it was, but it's all right. It just won't set. No, it's okay. No more than okay. You know. Yeah. Right. I know I've waffled way too long about Vagrant's story and Vandal Hearts, so I'll just cut those off. So there you go. These are the V's. Versus Vigilante 8, 1 and 2, Viewpoint, Vandal Hearts 1 and 2, and Vagrant Story. There you go. Sorry, that was a bit long and a bit weird and sort of waffly, but next is the W's, and there's about a similar amount of W's, and after that is the X's, and that's it, and then we're done. So, yeah, look out for those and what other videos I put up. Don't know. There will be others. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.